Don't use GPT to write your LinkedIn posts. AI is powerful, right? And I believe it's supposed to make us better, specifically staffing sales folks and staffing owners, right? This is a question I would always ask myself, would this person want to be around me outside of work? I believe that video is where you really build rapport, it's where you really build trust, and you give your prospect an understanding of who you are. I believe very strongly that this is the new sales process for staffing. I'm the founder of Simpleside AI. Just started Simpleside AI back in June. Before Simpleside, I worked in staffing for 10 years. I built up a book of business doing $20 million in annual revenue. I got my book of business up to 75K in weekly GP, had over 130 contractors on billing, and I walked away from it all to start Simpleside AI. All right, so what we do and what I'm gonna provide for you today. My goal for the presentation is to give you something that you can start with. I'm very big on tactical advice as opposed to theoretical advice. So I'm gonna go over our exact framework that we do with our clients. I'm gonna share every single tool we use, and I'm gonna give you the structure so you guys can get started, right? So my main goal is to give you something that you can take away from this. As far as what we do at Simpleside AI, we help staffing founders and staffing salespeople with LinkedIn content creation, specifically to get more visibility from your customer and to drive leads. We help with lead generation, so using tools like Clay, very specific targeting to get you in front of the folks who buy your service. We also do internal process automation. Today I'm gonna focus mostly on the content creation and lead generation, but you guys have my handle. If you ever have questions about the internal automations, feel free to ping me. All right, so for any of you guys who follow me on LinkedIn, you know I'm super transparent about all the tools we use. We've only been in business since June and we've already switched out some of the tools. So let me go over every tool that we use and why we use it and what we get out of it, right? So again, if you follow me, we love Clay. Clay is great for data enrichments. There seems to be some debate on LinkedIn whether personalization works or if it's a good strategy. From our perspective, it is. So if we're creating an outbound automation, we're using Clay, we're pulling who's recently been promoted, we're pulling companies that have received funding, we're pulling companies that will receive funding. We created a cool API for companies that recently received a patent, right? So we want prospects to know that, hey, we did a little bit of research, right? We've put some effort into this reach out. We use Smart Lead. I love Smart Lead. We onboard multiple clients through Smart Lead. For anybody who's just looking to get started, Lemlist is a great solution, right? We actually started with Lemlist, got to a point where we had so many clients, we couldn't use Lemlist. But if you're looking for outbound email automation, Lemlist is a great place to start. There's several different tools. Expandy, right? I know some folks use Dripify. Expandy helps with automating messages through LinkedIn. So our strategy is to do outbound email automation, targeting an ICP. We do not get meetings through email. I know some folks in other industries do. From our perspective, email is for visibility, it's for value. Where we actually convert and book meetings is with LinkedIn DMs, right? So Expandy is a great place to start with that. GPT, right? I feel very adamantly about this, okay? So excuse my passion. Don't use GPT to write your LinkedIn posts. People will know it hurts you. If you want to get like 1 or 2 out of 10 or 15, right? I get it. GPT is great to dive into your ICP. So let's say you know your specific ICP and you research the top 10 pain points for them. You research the top trends, right, that your ICP is seeing. You research top trends in a specific city where your ICP is, right? That will help you. That will expedite what you want to do. Some great tools, right, for folks that are interested in posting video content. Riverside, right? We use Riverside, so we sit with our clients, we record our sessions. We will cut up the post based on the content pillars. I'll go into this in more depth, but a good place to get started, guys. Riverside, very affordable too. Opus Clip does the exact same thing, right? All these platforms do is you'll do an hour session with yourself, or if you have a teammate that you want to do it with, record and then cut it up, and that's going to give you your shorts, right? Just to get started, those tools are fine, right? If you want to use this as a long-term strategy to drive business, I do recommend you get an editor just because there's certain nuances that the AI is not necessarily going to catch. But again, just to start, Riverside, Opus Clip, those are fine. Appify is a tool that we use. So we use Apify to scrape jobs. We use Apify to scrape relative information that we can send to a prospect to increase the likelihood that we can book a meeting for our clients. I personally do not recommend you just scrape jobs and send messages. I don't think that's a good long-term strategy. As somebody who worked in staffing for 10 years, took a relationship first standpoint, I don't think that's a good long-term strategy. But scraping jobs every now and again just to show that you did some research and implementing it within the automations, it's been helpful. Internal automations, right? So for my non-technical folks that I can relate to, make.com is great, okay? So if you're looking for ways to format resumes, if you're looking for ways to communicate with your team quicker, if you're looking for ways to automate job postings, make.com is a great solution. I have someone on my team who's technical, who uses N8N. N8N is, I don't want to say you need to be technical, but it's harder, right? So for my sales folks and my non-technical folks, make.com is great. N8N is that higher level tool that's going to help with deeper automations. All right, I do want to share my beliefs about AI because I get these calls often where people will come and they'll say, hey, can I use AI to replace this function? Can I use AI for all my content creation? Let me go over step by step what I believe about AI. AI is powerful, right? And I believe it's supposed to make us better, specifically staffing sales folks and staffing owners, right? If you can amplify what a great salesperson is already doing, boom, that's how you win, right? When I was in staffing, I had 2 enterprise accounts. If I knew this type of technology 5 years ago and this existed, I would have been able to grow and manage 5 enterprise accounts. And I say that with all confidence. Content creation, right? Guys, your customers and your prospects want to know who you are. They want the imperfection. If you guys follow me on LinkedIn, I did a series last year about trying to fill 100 jobs. And my last post was how I missed it, right? And your audience wants to see that. I do not believe AI can do that. I do not believe AI is a substitute for genuine value-based content creation. However, AI can help you get out more and it can help with brainstorming. But again, I don't believe it's meant to replace it. When we use AI, right, we're looking 2 questions. And this is for my personal self. This is what we do with a client. Does this save time and give a recruiter, a salesperson, an agency owner more time to drive revenue, run their team, bring in new accounts? Or does it specifically lead to outcome, right? Do these automations book meetings? Does this help us get a new agreement? Does this help us increase leverage with our current customers so they view us as the experts, right? I know you get these messages, right? I think I got 2 or 3 this morning. Bad AI, generic automated outreach, will destroy your brand. It will hurt you. If you do lazy outreach, if it's just AI, if it's not personalized, if you put 0 effort into it, it's gonna hurt you so much more and it's not worth it. You're better off doing it manually if you don't know how to properly do it with AI and automation. All right, look, this is the exact blueprint that we use for our clients. This is the exact blueprint I use for myself to grow my staffing book. This is the exact blueprint that I use to grow Simpleside. And again, the exact blueprint that we use for our clients, right? Step 1, who's your ICP? I believe with all of the outreach and all of the noise in the market, the more targeted your ICP, the higher your leverage and the higher increased probability that you're going to be successful. So look, 10 years ago, you could just target a CTO. You could just target a chief creative officer. I believe that if possible, you should make your ICP even more defined, right? And that's how you can create very specific messaging, which is a good segue into number 2, right? Really deeply understanding the pain points. Content and automation that is centered around pain points does well. This is just from the data that I've seen with supporting just under 10 of our clients, right? Pain point content, pain point automation does well. ROI does not necessarily do well. So for folks that are ready to get started with content automation, dive very deep into the pain points of your client. It's not always skill set related. Sometimes skill set is too broad. Dive deeper. I won a large statement of work years ago because of a compliance issue, because of an onboarding issue that we were able to solve, right? So I'll go more into this, but think outside the box. Your content pillars, right? So you want to stick to between 2 and 4 content pillars, right? So the easiest way to start is the market that you support. You want to leverage yourself as an expert in that market. the projects, right? And I like projects more because I'm a temp guy, right? So I focus more project, solution, outcome than skill set, right? That's also how you get larger pieces of business. So specific solutions for the pain points that you solve. I have one client where he's a very young guy. They probably do about $5 million in revenue. And he's like very principled leadership, but unique, right? And a little quirky. That's a huge part of the pillar that we've established for him. And it's different, right? So when you think about your content pillars, think about one or two things that are unique about you. All right, automation, right? How you scale your content is by using outbound email automation to target your ICP. Let's say your ICP is a CFO in Dallas. You want to use outbound automation to add value and to talk about the pain points of your ICP in Dallas. Problems related to the market, problems related to what they see. You add value through email automation, and then you follow up, and you can automate all of this, right? With Dripify Expandy, you follow up through LinkedIn, right? And then you create a connection between the email that you sent and the message and the DM that you sent, right? So your first DM can be, hey, thanks for taking a second to read the email that I sent, right? If you really want to level up, create videos, right? Hey, thanks for taking a second to watch the video I sent, right? That's going to create a pattern interrupt, and that's going to stop them in their tracks, and that's how you're going to book meetings. This, to me, might be the most important thing. Great content, outbound, posting, it's lovely, but you need to engage. If you want to build real rapport, you need to help your ICP. If you are focusing on data analytics firms in Denver, Colorado, find people in those areas that post, engage, ask questions, and add value, right? All right, so let's do a dive into step one and step two. So title, right? So think about what's the title of the person? And look, sometimes these varies, right? If you're going after finance, maybe it's CFO, maybe it's head of accounting, right? And you can get specific with these in Clay, right? And if you use Apollo or another automation tool, they're all very similar. You can get specific with this. I like specific sectors in specific cities. This is how you differentiate yourself. Just going after tech, just going after creative nationally is a very hard strategy. After COVID, and I became a national rep after COVID. I had all my business in New York City. Once COVID happened, I then got a big book of business in Phoenix and Florida. It's harder now to do that. So the more specific you can be with the title, the city, and the sector, again, the higher the probability that the automation and the content is going to convert. This is a question I would always ask myself when I sat in the staffing sales seat. Again, I'm fortunate enough to grow my book of business. Much of the business that I had was exclusive business, and I attribute this question probably more than anything else, right? Would this person want to be around me outside of work? If you are targeting an ICP who is nothing like you, who may see the world differently than you, doesn't have any shared interests or values, it's going to be hard for you to develop real rapport with that person. And think about that on both fronts, right? Would your ICP want to hang out with you outside of work? Could you have a conversation not related to business, right? This is really important for the folks that want to be in staffing for 10, 20, 25 years and scale an agency. All right, so again, main pain points, right? I use GPT every day to brainstorm, right? So this helps me, right? Whether it's a client that wants to get in front of more CFOs, whether it's a client that wants to get in front of, build a brand around data analytics, right? Think about the biggest problems. If you are in engineering or tech, you should be talking about proxy candidates, right? That is, in my opinion, the biggest problem right now that companies are facing, right? So talk about your view on it. Give value. Give a client a way to solve that problem before they pay for your service, right? Create a playbook around that, but talk about that specific pain point and how you solve it, right? Talent wars, right? This works really well for B markets, okay? So if you're in a B market city and the big companies are coming in, right? And they're starting to scoop up talent, talk about that. Talk about how that's impacting the local market. Talk about the data behind that. Give someone who owns a mid-market services firm advice and guidance on what they can do to keep folks, right? Use GPT to help you and guide you, but this is what your content should be focused around. Hey, here's 3 interview tips, like that doesn't work. What works is value-based content for the person who will give you money, your ICP. This is super important. So we just did a really cool project in Bullhorn where we pulled data out of Bullhorn to help them with their content strategy. So some of you guys are sitting on so much success, and look, I get it. When I started posting, it's a little uncomfortable. You feel outside your confidence. But if you own a firm, or if you have a book of business where people don't quit, right? Or you get a ton of referrals, right? And you have data to back that up, put that into your content. I promise you, your prospects want to know why they would work with you. They're getting hundreds of messages. So yeah, if they come to your page, they're going to want to see, is this person servicing my niche? Oh, they have a low retention rate. Oh, they're winning multiple projects, right? They want to know that you solve the problems that they have, right? You're servicing them before you even meet with them. Okay, I want to show you guys some examples, right? Because anybody can come and say, hey, do this, it works. And I can also say, hey, this is the exact strategy that I did for 10 years. It works for me. And you may say, well, Mike, it worked for you. Doesn't necessarily mean it will work for me, right? I want to combat that idea. So let's talk about written, let's talk about video, let's talk about metrics, right? So this is some of the data from our clients. Just impressions does not matter, right? So if I go on LinkedIn right now and I say, companies suck and the interview process is too long and clients are bad, I will get tons of impressions, but I will not increase the probability that I sell my service, right? So let's talk about what works from a written and a video standpoint, right? So stories, right? Stories are great. You can convey to your customer the problems that you solve, what makes you different, how you help them through stories. So, and I do this now, right? I have my little notebook right here. As I'm going through my day, something will happen. I'll say, oh, that's a good content idea. My customer would find value from that. My prospect would want to know how I solve this problem because this will help them decide if I'm a good fit for them. Start to think like that, right? So let's do written first. Written, and again, we have just under 10 clients that we're helping from a LinkedIn perspective. This is the data that we've seen. This is also my perspective on my data from posting. Written does better. Written gets more reach. Written hits more folks. We believe that written should be a strong part of your content strategy. Now, for my sales folks, right? You know the importance of facial recognition. I believe that video is where you really build rapport. It's where you really build trust, and you give your prospect an understanding of who you are. Look, I'm gonna be very direct. You may post videos and someone might say, I don't know if I would get along with that person. I don't know if I'd be a good fit with them. That's okay. That's going to actually save you time. Again, you're servicing your customer before you meet with them. You will have many more people that say, I like the way that person carries themselves. Oh, that person's not perfect behind camera. They're a real human. They will start to build a rapport with you through your video. So again, face-to-face connection. These are just some of the examples. So when you guys start posting, I want you to have an idea of where you should be. So this is the anomaly, just by the way, full transparency. A new client that we brought on, we got them a 3,000% increase in members reached. That number is important because that's who sees your stuff. Impressions, not so much, right? 2,500% increase in impressions. For a different client, right? 100%, 40 increase in members reach, 130% increase in impressions. Members reach is important. You want to track that. Profile views, right? Think of this as a sales funnel. Here's my content. Here's my stuff. Is it valuable enough for someone to click it and come to my page, right? In staffing and recruiting, people don't talk about sales funnels enough. They are real and they will help you if you understand the structure of them. Again, video content, I feel that is the best thing you can do for your business and to increase leverage with your customers, position you as the expert, and bring in new business as well. Quick overview, right? Pain points, right? What pain points does your ICP face? Your unique expertise and insights. If you have been doing this for 3, 4, 5 years and you've been successful, you are doing something unique to stay in the game. Staffing and recruiting is, you know how hard it is. The turnover is through the roof. In order to be successful, you have some unique approach, whether you realize it or not. I encourage you to think deeply about that and make that a part of how you show up online. And why do you show up online? You do it for your prospects and the people that might want to work with you. What makes you different from your competitors, right? This is more important than ever. Your content can help separate you, right? no matter what, there's going to be some overlap, but this is why you niche down, right? Let me think of something. I help data analytic leaders in Cleveland, right? So I help specific person in specific city with specific problem. That is a great way to structure your content, and that's how you're going to stand out and be different. And that's what actually converts. I'm going to go over the most important piece of data to track in a couple slides, so bear with me. Okay, so this is email automation, right? So we talked about content, let's talk about email automation. Strategy is more important than the tools. Again, this is my humble opinion. Many of these tools do the exact same thing, okay? What makes you different is the copy that you use, the sequences, right? The actual strategy. So data enrichment, right? So you can do this in Clay. For time purposes, I won't go into every single one. You guys are more than welcome to follow up with me and ask any questions about Clay. Personalizations in Clay, you can do funding. So we like funding. Funding has worked well for us. Hey, congratulations on receiving X amount, right? One level of personalization does not work, 2 at minimum, right? Congrats on X amount of funding. I help Dallas CTOs, mid-market Dallas CTOs solve this problem, right? Very specific. We did the research on who the person is, where they are. I don't like national automations. They do not work. Specific city, specific person, specific problem. Promotions are great, right? Congratulate. This is very good for any enterprise reps on the call. If you are, so I was an enterprise rep. I had 2 large accounts. If you are looking to grow a specific account, it's good to track who's getting promoted within your area. And it gives you a reason to reach out to them, right? Congratulate them on the promotion, add value, right? Talk about what you're seeing. Find a way to add value that doesn't necessarily include you asking something. New job postings. Again, this is good to show that you did your research. I do not encourage you just to scrape jobs and send messages, but if you mention jobs that are opened, if you proactively share candidates, if you do, so videos are working very well for us right now. If you, and you can use Loom for this. If you do a Loom and you review a candidate's resume, or you do a Loom and you review the job posting online, again, it just shows you did your effort. It creates goodwill, highly increasing the probability that that client's gonna get back to you. Again, smart lead, right? Instantly AI, that's another outbound automation. All of these are very similar. The value is in the strategy, not necessarily the tool. Again, we use smart lead. Instantly AI is good as well. Lemless is good. For LinkedIn automations, right? Dripify is very good. We use Expandy just because it allows us to service multiple customers, but Dripify is a fine solution as well. Cold email structure, right? So again, I'm just sharing what has worked for us. Cold email structure. Observation, problem, solution, call to action. If you're in the first 2 or 3 emails, call to action should be light. Hey, I pulled some information on the city that you work in. May I share it with you? Hey, here's a story of success, or here's something that our other clients have seen. I created a framework that may help you through the situation. May I share it with you? First couple of automations, something light. Hard call to action does not work in staffing and recruiting. Okay, so this is the most important metric that you can track. Who is viewing your stuff? More important than anything, right? If you get 100 people that view your post and they are all your ICP, that's a lovely post, right? If you get 1 million views and 10 are your ICP, right? It's an ineffective post. So this is the data from a client, right? Again, we are targeting a specific title, right? So we're targeting CFOs here. 10% of the folks that viewed the post are CFOs. That's good. That tells us that the content is relative and they're relating to it. Specific city, right? I recommend specific city, specific pain point, specific title. This is good to track as well, right? So if I showed you guys, even right now, even as I'm growing Simpleside, my views are still the enterprise accounts that I supported. It's probably gonna take me a year to reprogram the algorithm. But if you're an enterprise rep, right, you wanna see the names of the customers that you're supporting. If I had a post that was 10,000 views and 15% of it was my enterprise client, right? That's over 1,000 views of folks who are at my account, right? So you want to start thinking that way. This is what's going to keep you top of mind. All right, so overview, step by step, right? Again, the goal for this presentation is to get you started, right? It's to get you started with some type of content schedule, some type of outbound schedule. this is not a substitute for the fundamentals, right? The goal is to meet with your customers in person, build real rapport with them, understand how you can help them, right? Transactional staffing and recruiting, maybe it works for a year, maybe it works for 18 months. Long term, the AI, the content, the automation, it's meant to help you build real relationships. So please keep that in mind. Again, this is something you could do tomorrow to get started. Download Riverside. Talk about the problems that you're solving. Talk directly to your ICP. Talk about the wins that you're having. Talk about industry-specific research, market research for your cities, stories, wins, right, that your ICP would find interesting. Cut that up, right? And you can do it right on Riverside. You can use the AI. Again, Opus Clip is a wonderful solution as well. Take that, cut it up, post it across all platforms, right? The goal is not perfection here, guys. The goal is progress, right? Get started to start building your brand and to start talking to your customers about how you service them. It will help you. Again, different leaders and different niches on different platforms, right? I'll give you a very specific example. I had a call with a founder a couple of weeks ago. Her ICP is on Facebook, right? So this is important to think about. Where is your ICP? For many of us, our ICP is on LinkedIn. That's fine. But if you run an influencer recruiting agency, your ICP might be on TikTok. It might be on Instagram, right? For this person I spoke with, her ICP was on Facebook. So think about where your ICP hangs out, right? Create outbound emails targeting your ICP, right? Lemlist, right? This is something that you can do tomorrow. Outbound emails to bring in your ICP, to bring them to your LinkedIn page using Expandy and or Dripify for follow-ups, right? If you do this for 6 weeks, right, you will see something out of it. I encourage you to track open rates. Open rates means your copy is good. Bounce rates, right, that means that the leads are bad, so you want to evaluate where you're getting your leads from. Clay is excellent. We have it's well over 95% of lead accuracy. Open rates, impressions, not so much, but it's good just to have visibility on it. Profile views, is your content relating enough to come and actually attract your ICP? Members reach, I did this real quick, misspelled that, forgive me. Who's viewing your stuff, right? Members reach, are they coming? Are they viewing your stuff? Super important. 6 weeks, look at the data, and then you can create a strategy to start sending your content out and about. This is one of the main ways that I've built out my book of business. And it's great because you're telling your customer, hey, I service you. Whether you want to work with me or not, I service you. I solve the problems that you have. When you start to do that before you just reach out, everything will be easier. Double down, right? Double down on what gets the most traction. If I work with a client and I see, hey, when we talk about your ability to service venture capital firms and the engagement goes through the roof, let's do more of that. Let's create more content around that and let's start to send that around to your ICP, right? The data is important because it lets you know what you're doing is right or if it needs to be adjusted. If you do this, you will increase your leverage with your customer base. I guarantee it. The customers that already work with you will say, oh, that was great. I appreciate you sharing this. Oh, I didn't look at it that way. You shared a new perspective, right? As people in staffing and recruiting, some of you guys might have heard me on Ben's podcast. I talked about The Challenger, which is a wonderful book. Our job is to sometimes change the perspective of our clients, right? So if you share a piece of content that's valuable, your customers and your prospects will associate you with that value. And if you share something with them that challenges their perspective, you will never be hungry. All right, so I'm gonna challenge you now. All right, so I came up with this. You guys have all the tools. Again, our clients pay us a hefty retainer for everything I just shared with you. You have all the tools, you have the framework, you have the strategy. I encourage you to get started, right? So this is the best way to get started. Think about your exact ICP, hyper specific, right? Think about 3 content pillars that you can share that would address the specific challenges your ICP has. Start commenting, right? Look, if you can post 3 times a week, I recommend 1 or 2 written, 1 or 2 videos a week, right? If you want to see quick traction, that's a great way to start. If that's too much, post once a week. Do 1 video a week, right? The video is gonna build better rapport with your customers. Again, commenting, right? This is super important. Engage with your customers, add value, give them something before you ask anything from them, right? Record 1 video, cut it up, post, and automation, right? So I recommend you start with content, do 2 weeks of content, get that out there, get the data, and say, oh, my audience resonates with these pain points, and then build your automations around those pain points. Build the copy around those specific pain points. I believe very strongly, I believe it so much I quit my job and started a company to service it. I believe very strongly that this is the new sales process for staffing. I believe, look, in 2015, I went to the office and I made 100 cold calls and it worked. I got meetings, I grew my book of business, I got SOWs, it was wonderful. Today, that doesn't work. Cold calling is still a part of what you should do, right? That's another sequence that I left out, right? If you start calling the leads that are engaging with your content, game changer. But I believe that every staffing firm in the next 6 months will be tracking content as a KPI. Calls, emails, posts, comments, right? I feel very, very strongly about that. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Looks like there's some questions. I appreciate everybody taking the time to listen.
You see some questions in the Q&A box?
I'm gonna come to that right now. Let's see.
And there's a few in the chat too, but make sure to check the Q&A box.
Yep. All right, where did the video content 3,000 impressions come from? LinkedIn. Yeah, that's a LinkedIn post, right? Have you tried HeyReach? I have not. Are there any tools you found to be a waste of? That's a good question. Any tools you found to be a waste of time and money? There are so many out there, it's overwhelming. You know, we got pretty fortunate, so we went with Lemlist. Here's a mistake I made, Tara. I got a bunch of the different AI, what would you call it? GPT's competitors, right? So like I got Anthropic, and we had like 3 or 4 of them at once, and I was like, let's just stick with GPT. So that was a mistake that we made. We got a couple different AI tools. I recommend you just use one. Even if one is more impactful than the other, you'll make up for it on the simplicity by just using one. This is a great question. Yeah, these are such good questions. Length of time, under 60 seconds. Okay, so what we do, right? I do not view LinkedIn as a long form platform. So if you can post a video that's 5 minutes on LinkedIn and people stay with you and you want to evaluate the watch time, great, do more. From my experience, it doesn't work like that. So I almost view long form on LinkedIn at 90 seconds. So anything between 60 and 90 seconds is what I break down as long form on LinkedIn. So we do a mix of 60 to 90 seconds. We also like under 30 seconds, and we'll test those against each other. If it is a story, 60 to 90 seconds because you need more content or context. If you're just trying to make a point, right? Under 30 seconds. Anything, and this is super important. If you have a video that makes a good point, but it's not a full idea, that's okay. Post the video and make up for it in the caption, right? So if you have a 14-second video of a very specific point, but it's not a wholehearted idea or it's not a complete solution within the video, fill in the blanks with the caption. That's a great way to get more video out and provide a high amount of value to your customer. How to make a specific target post on LinkedIn, or do you refer to campaigns and outreach? Okay, great question. So for LinkedIn, think about it like this. So here's the exact sequence. Outbound email automation. Let's say we're looking for just CTOs in Baltimore. We'll reach out to 1,000 CTOs in Baltimore, and then we will add value, right? We'll talk about a pain point. We'll talk about a new development, right? Based on who opens that email campaign, our automation then follows up with them on LinkedIn. So our automation on LinkedIn will say, thank you for taking a second to read the email I sent. Wanted to send you a note here so you can put a face to the name. The goal of that is to bring them to their page. Now, if you have a good content strategy, when that CTO from Baltimore opens the email, sees your LinkedIn message, and then goes to your page, they now see content related to Baltimore. They now see content related to the pain points of a CTO. How long does it take to build rapport? 1 year, hopefully not, but my point is building a brand for my new business has been, yeah, building a brand is a long time. How long does it take to build rapport? 2 months? No, longer than that. You can have someone associate you with value within a month, 2 months, right? If they keep seeing your face, you're adding value, you're talking about their pain points. To build real rapport, in my opinion, takes at least 6 months. When you think of your content, this is very important, right? Most people think they are talking to an arena. You're talking to a marching band, right? And this is super important. And it took me years to understand this fully. If I put out a piece of content right now and 100 people get value out of it, for whatever reason, they may not see my content for the next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but then it comes back to them, right? So it takes longer than 2 months to build rapport unless you are adding a tremendous amount of value or obscene amount of value. I would target at least 6 months to really have your clients have real rapport with you from posting content.
Mike, I got sucked into your story last year about the 100 hires.
Yep.
And it's one of those things that I think does a very good job trending into a story.
Yep.
Like, what kind of other like long-term story ideas that recruiters can do over the course of like a certain amount of time that can pull people in?
Yeah. I'll give you a specific example. If you're in a B market city and there's a large company coming to your city, right? And you know that large company is going to impact the economy, it's going to impact the recruiting market. Talk about that. Make a series about that, right? Here's something I learned since Oracle announced they're coming to Nashville, right? And so series, one of the best ways to get content out there, and this is fun too, right, is to make a series, right? So again, think about a pain point that your customer would have, but that's a good place to start, right? Think about a current event. Every day for the next week, I'm going to share a lesson learned on proxy candidates. Today we had an interview and we realized that someone's lip was moving a certain way. We looked at our software. And literally, you're just talking about the problems that you solve for your customer. If you do that, you will build good rapport with your customer. This is how we found it. This is how we solved it. This was our strategy. That is what your customer wants to see. And think about it from the other side too, right? If you were in the process of buying something or potentially purchasing a service, wouldn't it be helpful if you saw the person that you are engaging with openly talking about the problems that you solve for them? So Ben, that's one example that comes to mind.
Somebody threw a question in the chat. Is it okay to repeat content over and over, like what we see in marketing campaigns for large firms?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So for any of you guys who follow me on TikTok, I repurpose my content on TikTok. So on TikTok, all I do is talk about staffing and recruiting and business and automation and AI. I repurpose all my stuff on TikTok. LinkedIn, I have a little bit of a different view. I view LinkedIn as a more premium content platform. I do not personally repurpose my stuff. I don't think it's going to hurt you. I don't think it's going to hurt you. Anything that's relative to time, right? I wouldn't repurpose it. But if you have a post that absolutely crushes it, and your customers say, I want to make sure I get your name right, and your customers say, "Hey Sergio, like we love that post." Yeah, I repurpose it absolutely. And I'd also take that post and I'd say to my customers, what parts did you find the most value out of? And then I would restructure, and you can use GPT for this, right? And then I'd put that into GPT and I'd say, give me 25 ideas that are similar to this. This post got a lot of traction. I want to repurpose this content.
Somebody asked, what's your TikTok handle?
The Handler. I'll tell you guys a funny story. I'm recording right here. It's the Handler __. I was at a dinner years ago for an enterprise client, and one of the executives had a few too many drinks. And the hiring manager told me about it, but didn't like officially invite me, and I still showed up. And the executive goes, "Oh, who's that?" And hiring manager goes, "Oh, this is Mike Mello. He works with Cena. He's the account rep." And the executive goes, "Oh, that's your handler." And everybody cracked up, and I felt this big. And then I said, you know what? I'm gonna make a TikTok handle about that. So that's where that comes from.
Somebody asked, can you view heat maps on LinkedIn posts?
No, I don't. So I like organic data, and this is really good. So this is my personal opinion. In staffing and recruiting, everything you do from a marketing and advertising standpoint should be long-term, because the value is the relationship. If you want exclusive business, if you want to have 100 contractors on billing, you need the relationships. Ad spend and heating up posts, that's fine if you're selling a product. My personal opinion is you're building the audience. you're building the audience, and that is where you'll start to get referrals too. So no, everything I do is organic. And look, that may change down the road, but right now I see more value in organic, value-based content, using automation to bring your customer to your LinkedIn page. That's where I see the most value.
All right, I think we got all the questions. This is definitely a good session. Real quick, if you're still here, drop in the chat an emoji on your thoughts on Mike's session.
Oh, thank you guys. Yeah, if any of you guys want to follow me on LinkedIn, please feel free. I post all the tools we use. I post all the strategies. There's zero gatekeeping. And you guys are making my day. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that feedback, everybody.
Well, here's one last question for the crowd. I'm putting together another summit. Well, there's going to be a summit in October called Finish the Year Strong, which is going to be absolutely epic. But I'm putting together a smaller summit in December. Should I invite Mike back for that one? Drop a yes or a no in there.
Thank you. I love you guys. My type of crowd. Oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I hope you found, and look, do that challenge. You ping me on LinkedIn. I'll help you. I'll help you put that structure together. I promise you, like this is, you'll gain leverage with your customers. You'll have new people reach out to you. Like you will get something from this. And again, LinkedIn DMs are open. Ping me, and I'm happy to answer any questions or help in any way I can.
Well, Mike, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. Up next, we'll give you guys a little bit of a break. It's Lou Adler is going to be sharing. I think Lou has something like 1.5 million followers on LinkedIn. It's like 1.2 or 1.5 million followers. So it is, I'll just give you the preface, it is a pre-recorded talk because he was stuck in the mountains and he was afraid his internet was going to go bad. But he wanted to be sure he's part of the summit. He actually reached out to me to be part of it. So excited for you guys to see it. And I know that was, somebody shot a thing just to me and Mike. That's a heck of a lot of followers on LinkedIn. So excited about it, and I will see you guys shortly.
Thank you guys.